The captain of the intruders introduces herself as Sakatoku Mei. Turns out that she is Aki's sister. Caesar offers his condolences, but Mei says there is no need for it because she and Aki were not that close. Mai plays a song and says they will start their fight once the music she is playing ends. However, one of the intruders tries to act funny, but Caesar, being a strong opponent, knocks out all the intruders, leaving Mai. He wonders why the intruders are using sedative bullets instead of fatal ones. Mai tells him that her job is to slow down Caesar, while another girl also slows down Zehang. This is because the duo is currently the main threat to their operation. Now in the library, a girl wearing a mask enters, and she is the one who is to fight Zehang. She doesn't even bring a weapon, and the instructors watching wonder if she is powerful enough to challenge Zehang without a weapon. Zehang activates his Yanling, which is a royal blaze and very rare to have. All the area he is standing in erupts into a fiery furnace. The professors realize the reason Zehang's Yanling has been a secret to everyone except the principal and his supervisor. This must have been the reason why everyone else is asked to evacuate the library. To everyone's greatest surprise, the girl is armed with the same power as Zehang. Meanwhile, 13 finds himself in the I's chambers where he runs into one of Norma's personalities, Eva. Eva says she can't stop him because he used a high clearance card. The duo have a chat and Eva even points him to where he wants to go next. As he makes his way to his next location, 13 is informed that his payment has increased to 5 million. He falls into a reservoir and loses his phone before he can get the last instruction. He swims forward and sees a door. He is still contemplating opening the door when a voice calls him brother and he accidentally opens the door. Back on the mountain, Nono informs Mingfei that she was the one that invited him to the party and not Caesar. She then asks Mingfei to join the student union. To prevent Mingfei from thinking Caesar set her up to the task, she reveals that she wants Mingfei to join the club so she can look after him herself. Turns out that Caesar and Nono have an arranged marriage engagement. Nono changes the topic and tells Mingfei that someone usually gives her a birthday present every year and she doesn't know what the person would give her this year. Seeing that Nono's mood is down, Mingfei uses the cheat code Mings gives him and the environment receives a bright mood. Music starts to play, fireworks go off, and everything ends with a fireworks decoration of Happy Birthday, Nono. This lifts Nono's mood, and as she puts her head down, a tear falls off. Mingfei realizes that Nono was referring to her late mother who usually buys her gifts. Now in the school, after 13 opens the door, the water currents push into another chamber where he finds himself face to face with a shark. Surprisingly, the shark swims without attacking 13. 13 reveals that there is something about him that scares away animals. He makes his way to the research institute that is hidden under the college. He uses the security card with him to access the door. Inside the facility, Anju is briefing the scientists about the vase. After making a scan of the vase, they discover that it contains a dragon embryo. After careful observation, they realize that there were supposed to be 2 embryos inside, but one has escaped. The scientists want to dissect the vase to quickly check what is inside, but Anju stops them. He threatens them and instructs everybody to vacate the room. This gives 13 the opportunity to infiltrate the room without any problem. Just as 13 gets close to the vase, he has a vision of a kid calling him brother again. He moves closer to the vase and starts taking some pictures. The vision happens again, and this jump scares 13. He decides to lead without taking the vase with him. Meanwhile, a bottle had fallen from his pocket when he jumped away from the vase. His final instructions were to pour the solution inside the bottle on the vase, take out its contents, and return. He left without doing so because he didn't get the final instructions when he lost his phone. Moments later, an unknown figure who is likely Anju enters the room. He picks up the bottle and pours its content into the vase. He then cuts his hand and pours the blood over the base also. As Anju leaves, he says his blood and the dragon are in the hands of Nidhogg. Now in the church, Caesar tells Mei that if she manages to eliminate him with 3 tries, she will be considered the winner of the duel. Mei goes after Caesar, but he easily dodges her first attack. She attacks again and Caesar counters her. She makes the 3rd attack more difficult, but Caesar manages to block the attack again. However, Mai tries to be a cheater and pulls out a gun. Just then, a little kid mouths some words in the distance that causes an explosion that breaks Mai and Caesar apart. They look around and see melted footsteps printed on the floor that leads outside. Caesar is surprised that someone could pass him by without him catching a whiff of it. Caesar says he heard the elevator sound. Judging from the movement, he says the elevator came from the basement. Mai wonders what sort of monster they are keeping at the school. On their way back to school, Nono and Mingfei realize that there is trouble. However, Nono tells Mingfei not to worry because she is sure that everything will be settled before they even get back. At the school, Zhang and the other girl are still fighting, and the professors notice that the girl is even pulling her punches because her aim is to slow down Zhang and not kill him. On the other hand, 13 is trying to escape the school on a bike when Mingfei and Nano run into him with their car. Mingfei goes close to apologize for the trouble when he and 13 recognize each other. Apparently, 13 is old Tang, Mingfei's friend. The scene quickly turns into a fake hostage situation to help Tang escape. Their plan is interrupted when they see a kid with an energy shield around him trying to get close. The guards start to shoot at the kid, but the energy shield around him melts the bullets. All their efforts to stop him proves useless, and all they do is even make him angrier. Zhang and the girl stop their fight when they discover that there is greater danger at the school. The girl commends Zhang and leaves. Manstein calls his father to bring down the barrier again, but he says it will be useless because they are fighting against a first-generation dragon, the king of bronze and fire. Mai calls her employer to inform her of the recent developments. Mai sends a video to her, and when she checks it, she discovers that the kid is not the Dragon King, Norton. Mei's employer says the kid they are looking at is Norton's brother, Constantine. Nono Tang and Mingfei are seen hiding behind some pillars. Tang reveals that he got the order to steal the vase online and didn't even know that he was infiltrating Mingfei's school. Just then, Finger finds them behind the pillars and gives out a loud scream. This exposes them to Constantine, who has been looking for them. Constantine shows up, but the ground runs away once again. Shortly afterward, Mai gets the information from her employer that the Frigga bullets that they use as sedatives can have small effects against Constantine. All the guards and students immediately switch to Frigga bullets and start to attack Constantine. Mingfei, Tang, and Finger find a pool and jump inside to hide from Constantine. The trio hears Constantine getting close and decides to fully submerge themselves inside the pool. Moments later, Mingfei raises his head back up and finds himself in a red pool. He climbs out of the pool and notices that his environment is different. He believes that this is one of Ming's visions and starts to look for him. He runs into Constantine and immediately recognizes that he is the dragon kid chasing them when he sees a building from the Bronze City map. He gets scared and shifts back, but Ming's appears out of nowhere and kicks Constantine away. Ming's tells Constantine to leave his brother alone and find himself his own brother. Mingfei wakes back to the real world to discover that his friends have left him at the pool. Just then, Principal Anju arrives and asks Mingfei to follow him. He takes Mingfei to an Overwatch tower and gives him a rifle and a bullet. He says the bullet is made from Philosopher's Stone and is capable of killing any Supreme Dragon. All they just need is to get a clear shot into its eyes. Anju says he will use his Yanling called Time Zero to slow down everything around and give Mingfei a chance to shoot Constantine. Minutes later, Constantine transforms into his dragon form. Anju commends the students for their excellent work and tells them he will take it from here on. He uses his Yanling to attack Constantine and slow down time. Mingfei manages to take the shot with the help of Lil Bro, Ming's. Once the dragon has been shot, the principal tells everyone to switch to live ammunition because the dragon is now weak. The dragon flies toward Tang and shields him from all the bullets. The dragon calls him brother before finally dying. Overwhelmed by what he just witnessed, Tang begins to remember his life as a dragon. He remembers that Constantine is his twin brother. He gets very sad and angry at the same time, prompting him to finally reveal himself as the Dragon King, Norton. Later on, Manstang's father asks Anju why he didn't just kill Tang when he hasn't transformed into his dragon self. Anju says he is tired of sealing Dragon Kings away and wants to terminate them once and for all. He adds that he is over 100 years old now and he needs someone that will carry on with his tasks. Anjoy's hybrid blood has allowed him to stay alive and younger than his peers. He then reveals that dragons are always angry when they lose a loved one, and this will prevent them from careful thinking. Anju is pretty confident that Norton's anger will be his grave. Anju's plan is to eliminate the 4 Dragon Kings and finally eliminate the Emperor, Nidhogg. The next day, Finger and Mingfei are seen in their dormitory talking about the events that happened yesterday. Finger says the school's executives are back now and they have nothing to worry about. Mingfei reveals that he will be joining the student union. Just then, a student arrives to deliver his club card to him. The student says Nono was sure that Mingfei will join the club and had his card prepared already. Shortly afterward, Principal Anju informs Kizer that he has a mission for his club. He is also required to take Mingfei with him on the expedition. After receiving the task from the principal, Anju calls for Mingfei. He informs Mingfei about the expedition they are to go on. Mingfei is scared and says he doesn't want to go, but Nono enters and convinces him that she will take care of him just like a big sister does. Mingfei accepts to join them on the mission, but Kizer says they need to get him ready within the next 2 months. For the next 2 months, Mingfei is trained in several aspects which include diving, martial arts, endurance and stamina, hand-to-hand combat, and the rest. After his training is complete, Mingfei feels discouraged and gives Finger his S-rank card to buy anything he wants in case he dies. Typical Finger, he immediately starts to order things with the card. Mingfei is surprised to see how Finger is behaving, but he turns out to be wrong when Finger returns the card. Finger encourages him and assures him that everything will be okay. This sparks a new sense of confidence inside Mingfei. Finger reveals that couples are not allowed to dive together, but the reason Aki and Sheng went in together was because they never announced their relationship officially. Mingfei realizes that Caesar and Nono won't be able to dive together for the mission. Meanwhile, Norton has summoned one of his servant dragons, Samson, to prepare him for the task ahead of them. Soon afterward, Mingfei, Nono Zero, and Kizer are taken to the ship for their mission. The name of their mission is Operation Bronze. Manstain informs them that the ship is now better armed than before and no ordinary dragon can take them on. He reveals that they now have an advanced torpedo that can effectively damage a dragon. Their plan is to re-enter the Bronze City and destroy it before it falls into Norton's hands. They believe that Norton will have to go back to the city and transform into a cocoon so that he can emerge with his full strength. Manstain informs them of the diving plans. Nono and Mingfei will be Team 1 and they will dive first to find the cocoon and blow it to Kingdom Come. Nono and Mingfei gear up and Nono tells him all the details he needs to know about the suit. He is informed that a consciousness line is attached to them which the ship can use to drag them back in case of any problem. Moments later, the duo dives into the water. Upon getting to the gate, Mingfei is supposed to pour the pure blood inside a container on it to activate it. Just then, the gate bites his finger, but lets go when it tastes a good amount of dragon blood in it. The gate opens and Mingfei uses a piece of clothing to wrap his finger before they dive into the city. They arrive at a corridor where there is no water and the duo discovers that the air is breathable. They open their mask to conserve oxygen and continue with their task. With the help of a die given to them by Manstein, they are able to know the right way to go. They keep following the die to wherever it takes them. Mingfei and Nono walk through a chamber that depicts the evolution of the dragons and of man. Moments later, they find themselves at the same pillar which Aki and Sheng find the last time they were there. After leaving where the pillar is located, they move forward to find a chamber where a big statue is built in honor of Norton. Nono deduces that the king's palace cannot be in the same place where he receives sacrifices. They dive into the water below them and get to the bottom. They find out that they are standing in a graveyard of people that have waged war against the Dragon King. These were thousands of years ago, when the city had not been submerged in water. They find another gate and they use Mingfei's blood to access it. This causes them to lose connection with the ship because their consciousness line has been disconnected. Kizer and Manstein immediately use their powers in an attempt to find their comrades. Meanwhile, Nono and Mingfei fall into an unexplored part of the city. They see a building in front of them and go inside to investigate. Nono says she will use her criminal psychology skill to try and get information. After using her psychology skill, Nono discovers that the building they are staying in is Norton's palace, and he lived there with his brother thousands of years ago. Nono reveals that the reason she decided to take care of Mingfei is because she believes that she made a mistake recruiting him to the school. She thought Mingfei would stay a day or two and quit. After this, Nono sets a timer and reveals that they have enough time to make it back to the surface. Suddenly, it occurs to them that the lamp inside the building is on, and someone must have put it on recently. It dawns on them that Norton is currently in the city, and the duo starts to run away. They get to the gate that brought them in and use it to get back to their previous location. The two get there to discover that someone has removed the consciousness line that they were supposed to use in getting back to the ship. It doesn't take them long to realize that the city has been rebooted and everything is starting to fall apart. They go back to the palace to find another gate to get them out. Back in the ship, Keezer wants to dive in and look for them, but Manstain cautions him and says they are there to kill the Dragon King. Diving into the water will compromise the purpose of their mission. Now in the water, Nono and Mingfei are still trying to find a way out. Mingfei remembers the chest code Mings gave him about the map. Mingfei activates the code once again. Just then, they hear Finger's voice speaking to them. Mingfei tells Finger to look at the city of the bronze map that they have and use it to guide them out of the city. Turns out that Mingfei uses Manstein's brain as a signal relay to have contacted Finger. Finger analyzes the map but doesn't have enough computer access because he is F rank. He suddenly remembers that he has an ace up his sleeve. He contacts Eva, who has been his best buddy, to give him unrestricted access. With his unrestricted access, Finger is able to fully analyze the map. He starts to give Nono and Mingfei the directions they have to follow to get out of the city. Meanwhile, Manstein's brain has overloaded and he goes out of commission. Keezer assumes control of the ship and hands out instructions to everyone on board. Suddenly, a dragon attacks the ship and the crew believes that it is Norton. Keezer instructs the ship to move forward at high speed. The dragon chases after them, but Zero soon realizes that Norton is not the one chasing them. They see Norton standing on a hill in the distance. The dragon chasing them goes past them to meet Norton. Upon submerging in water, they discover that the dragon causing them problems is Samson. Samson meets up with Norton and the Dragon King thanks his loyal servant for his services. Norton kills Samson and fuses with his body. The crew realizes that Norton did this to skip the process of going back into a cocoon to get his full strength. Fusing with Samson is almost as equal to him getting his full strength. Meanwhile, Mai is standing in the distance. She receives instructions from her employer to make sure Norton dies, but Mingfei should be left alive. Back in the water, Nono and Mingfei find Sheng's body. They discover that he found a book that he was supposed to take back to the ship, but he couldn't make it because he sacrificed his oxygen for Aki. Nono takes the book and wishes Sheng a peaceful and eternal rest. The city starts to come apart at an accelerated level, and Mingfei begins to panic. However, his inner self scolds him and tells him to get himself together. His inner self says he is always depending on someone to save him without ever having put in the work. After getting a lecture from his inner buddy, Mingfei finds the confidence to go on. They soon arrive at a gate, but the city wall has started to fall on them. Mingfei tries to unlock the gate with his blood, but blood has stopped flowing because he has been underwater for so long. He tries to use a knife to cut himself but panics and drops it. Seeing that the wall is about to crush Nono, Mingfei takes off his mask and uses his teeth to bite his finger. The gate unlocks and the duo gets swept outside the city. Manstain manages to inform the ship that Nono and Mingfei need help because there has been an oxygen leakage. The ship immediately turns back to its original position and drops a rescue bell into the water. Nono slaps Mingfei out of his unconscious state. Mingfei opens his eyes to find out that he is sharing the same oxygen with Nono because his own suit is broken. The problem they now have is how to get back to the surface with the limited amount of oxygen they have. At that same time, Sihang arrives in a chopper to provide assistance to the team. Back in the water, Nono decides to take off her suit and have Mingfei wear it instead. Nono is an expert diver, so she can still hold out more than Mingfei. The ship continues its journey toward Nono and Mingfei's location. Keezer thinks of a way to fight Norton. Zero gives the idea that they can use the torpedoes against him. All they need to do is make sure that they are at least 100 meters close to him so that he won't have the time to melt it. The torpedoes will move at the speed of an airplane and the effect against Norton will be significant. Keezer goes to the ship's deck to take on Norton. Zero reminds Keezer to block his ears because the effect of the explosion will be too much for his ears, given that he will be using his abilities at that time. Keezer covers his eyes to enable him to focus on his hearing abilities better. He activates his abilities and fires some high-damage rounds at Norton to get him angry. Once he is angry enough, he will focus his attention on Keezer, and the torpedo will have a high chance to hit Norton. As the fight enrages, Keezer briefly lifts his barrier to give Zehang the chance to also distract the Dragon King. Zehang attacks with the Royal Blaze, but Norton easily negates his attack. This doesn't come as a surprise because Zehang's power comes from Norton. Seeing that the Dragon King is distracted, Keyser orders Zero to launch the torpedo. However, Keyser forgets to cover his ears when the torpedo is heading straight for Norton. The torpedo hits Norton and it proves to be a devastating attack. Norton falls into the ocean and the crew gets excited that it is over. Caesar's ear starts to bleed, but Zero says a minor surgical operation can fix the damage that has been done. Back in the water, Nono and Mingfei see the diving bell in front of them. They are happy that they finally made it. Nono pushes Mingfei into the bell, but as she is about to enter, Norton shows up and impales Nono with his tail. Mingfei watches Nono dying in front of him while he remembers all their memories together. He thinks about how Nono has always been there for him. This pain of losing Nono pushes Mingfei into the Vision Land where he finds himself on a raft. He sees Mings standing beside him. Mings tells him that Nono is slowly dying in the outside world, but he might still have the chance to save her. Mingfei rants about how Nono has always been there for him. Mingfei reveals his desire to protect Nono and stop her from dying. After hearing everything Mingfei has to say, Ming says there is a solution to his problems. He is willing to give Mingfei the cheat codes he needs to defeat Norton and also save Nono. However, there is a catch. Each code gives him the right to a quarter of Mingfei's life. Once he uses 4 codes, Mings will own his life. Desperate to save Nono, Mingfei agrees to the deal. Mings is surprised that Mingfei agreed to the deal. He comments on how Mingfei wouldn't have accepted the deal, given it was some thousands of years back. Ming says Nono has really changed Mingfei. Mings adds that Mingfei has officially fallen into his trap. Mings then gives him the power to stop Norton from using his Yanling, the power to stop Nono from dying. He also gives him the power to use any Yanling of his choice, and Mingfei picks Keyser's ability. After getting these powers, Mingfei returns to the bell. He swims towards Nono and heals her. He ties Nono to the bell and sends her to the surface. Once he does this, Ming says it is time to fight Norton. Mings tells him that the book they found earlier on was created by Norton and it contains the 7 sins. Mingfei activates the book and picks 2 colors, yellow and purple, to fight Norton. Mings tells him that he just picked the worst 2 of the 7 sins, and this will make his fight against Norton a bit more difficult. Mingfei uses the code to stop Norton from using his Yanling, and a fight ensues between the duo. As the battle rages on, Norton disappears into the abyss. Mingfei falls into a sad mood and starts thinking of the people that are likely to miss him if he dies. Mings pulls him to the Vision Land and gives him a pep talk. He reminds him that Mingfei's restriction on Norton's Yanling is slowly fading away. Receiving words of encouragement from his brother, Mingfei finally manages to activate his own Yanling, which gives him more strength and speed. Accompanied with Caesar's Yanling, Mingfei manages to locate Norton, and he launches a devastating attack that pushes him down the ocean. He is about to terminate Norton when he realizes that Norton is the same person as his buddy Tang. Mingfei hesitates, and this gives Norton the opportunity to start choking him out. However, Mings provides a helping hand when he delivers a dagger to Mingfei and forces him to push the dagger into Norton's back. As Mingfei floats back to the surface, he remembers how good Tang was to him, how Tang was the only one that believed in him when no one else did. Mingfei sheds bitter tears as he continues to make his ascent. Back on the ship, Nono finally wakes up, and the crew gathers around to clap for her and Caesar. Zero notices Mingfei surfacing in the distance and swims over to help him. She drags him back to the ship. Mei, who has been standing on the sidelines, sees an already weakened and dying Norton surface on the water. She uses the Philosopher's Stone bullet to finish him off and reports back to his employer that the job is complete. Later on, Mingfei is seen meeting with the principal. Anju promises him full marks that semester, but he needs to write a thesis before he can fulfill his promise. He is to write on the shared thrones of the monarch twins. Anju reveals that Nidhogg created the 4 kings as a pair of twins each. Anju believes that Nidhogg did this to make them more powerful. Anju then tells Mingfei that dragons appear in human form to get empathy from humans. Norton might have lost his memories when he escaped from the vase some years back, but that doesn't keep him from being a dragon king. Anju says he would have rained terror on the world if he had not been stopped. Anjoy gives Mingfei a picture of Tang when he was still human, but Mingfei tells Anju to hold on to it. Just then, Anju gives Mingfei a letter from his parents. His parents congratulate him on his part in making the mission successful. They also add that they can't wait to be there for him on the day he graduates. This letter brings Mingfei to tears. After reading the letter, the principal asks Mingfei about the details of the mission. He says it was written in the report that after Caesar knocks Morton down, something attacked Nono, but she was miraculously healed, and Ming-Fei was also spared. Ming-Fei is about to answer the question when Ming stops him. Anjoy says it's okay if Ming-Fei is not willing to tell them what happened. Now at the dormitory, Ming-Fei and Finger are busy arguing when someone knocks on the door. They open the door and find Caesar. Caesar asks for salt before leaving. Apparently, Caesar and Zihang are now living in the room that is opposite theirs. Nono and Zihang's assistant, Suzy, have also moved to the next room close to Ming-Fei and Finger. Nono has a short discussion with Ming-Fei, and it turns out that she doesn't even remember what happened. She only remembers Ming-Fei shouting her name and didn't have the slightest idea that Ming-Fei was the one that saved her. To put it short, only Ming-Fei knows the full details of what happened. Ming-Fei returns to his room and receives mail from an unknown person. He opens the package to find a phone. The phone has been sent to him by Mings to help in contacting him more easily than dragging him to Vision Land. The phone is also to monitor Ming-Fei, so he doesn't go back on their deal. Later on, Anju is going through Ming-Fei's 3E test answers. He sees that Ming-Fei drew himself sitting at a window beside Ming's. Anju recognizes Ming's, but he burns the paper and welcomes Ming-Fei to the academy once again.